Kryon. Information about the dimensional shift. Greetings, dearest ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. We will call this a mid-year update on information regarding the dimensional change. Yes, dimensional change. Now, if you've missed some of the information we've provided previously, I will briefly summarize it. Dearest ones, I want you to understand right away that nothing I am saying here is an authoritative stance or a paradigm that compels you to listen just because there's an adult in the room. What I am saying is this: immerse yourself in your heart. You are deeply loved. Sit at the feet of love and listen, perhaps, to what is happening to you now that might be confusing you. I want you to feel the arms of spirit around you, understanding that this is not an authoritarian figure telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, or what you should be afraid of. None of that is here. What is here is an immense love for the lightworker I am addressing. We know your name. It is important for you to understand why the information that is about to come all pertains to change, and some may be afraid of it. Others may be confused by it. The information we are providing is of fundamental importance because, for the first time in human history, we are moving away from that historical path that goes in circles without ever changing anything, where one war generates another, or where problems follow one another without end. This is not the future of the planet. One of the current issues is that you find yourselves on a new dead-end track, so to speak, compared to the train that previously ran on the railway line. Now you are moving forward and heading toward a much higher solution, I would say, to old problems. You are initiating a dimensional change. Now, this is an important concept, and as we have already told you, it is not what you think. To recap, first of all, it is not true that the entire world is changing dimensions, and that this Earth is changing dimensions. Perhaps that is what you have been told. It's the common way of thinking. This is because the three-dimensional human being reasons in this way. It's as if there were a one-size-fits-all approach, a single brush for everyone. But that's not the case. You must understand how unique you are. If you're watching this program and know what it's about, then you already know this. The dimensional shift concerns individuals, single individuals. It is not necessarily for everyone. So every single lightworker listening to this message is changing their vibration at their own pace, at their own level. But lightworkers in general are following a path of dimensional change that is affecting all of you. I repeat, if you have an esoteric mindset, if you say, I am interested in this greater truth. I am interested in a bigger picture that may have always been here and that the ancients spoke of. This is what we're talking about now. It's not a surprise. It is the end of the change. These are the dates we have spoken of. It's 2026. It's 2027, 2028, and 2029 until you are fully out of the shift in 2030 and beyond. But for now, there is much that is moving. We have already told you that if you are experiencing a dimensional shift, the first thing you will notice is that it requires more energy, so you are more tired. We've already told you this. We repeat it in case you didn't know, and there are those who didn't and say, so that's why. I wondered what was happening. You are more tired. It requires more energy right now because you are in a reality that is beginning to change. One of the characteristics we haven't mentioned or told you about is this. In this mid-year period, after having had some time to process this, I would say, dimensional shift, some of you are uncertain about almost everything, not just the future. You are uncertain. Now, uncertainty means not feeling comfortable with what is happening to you, to the planet, around you, to your family. You feel a sense of anxiety because you are uncertain. If you recognize yourself in this description, and if you have felt even a certain level of uncertainty, I'll explain why. I have immense respect and admiration for your path. You chose to be here at an extremely difficult time. Not only did you go through the transition from this old energy that wanted to overwhelm and mistreat you, but now that you are emerging from it, you have to endure a new type of energy you have never experienced before, and that is why there is uncertainty. You have never walked this path before. Here you are, you might say, walking toward a future where reality is different. Your reality is no longer the three-dimensional reality you experienced your whole life, or that your ancestors experienced, or that is inherent in you. Suddenly you find yourself on the front line of the transition to a higher consciousness. Vibration, which in turn transforms your reality through a dimensional leap. You are solving a puzzle different from any puzzle you have ever seen, and you are uncertain about it. I invite you once again to enter your heart and say, all is well. Your soul is at peace because you realize you are part of that heroic story mentioned in the meditation. Indeed, you came to live this transformation, to be the precursors of a higher consciousness, and this requires commitment. Some of you feel uncertain. You will get used to uncertainty. You will get used to change if you understand it, If you recognize that this is the new way of doing things, if you get used to it, it means you will adapt to the unexpected that will come. I would say, often unexpectedly, as you say, and you will no longer have to be uncertain about anything if you understand that change is the new normal. And soon you will expect it and say, who knows what will happen next? It's fine with me. I feel comfortable with it. This represents a significant change from human nature, which wants everything to remain the same, to know what will happen and feel comfortable. How many of you have trouble sleeping at night? I would say that all of this is part of the process. The expression waiting for something bad to happen has been used by some to describe this uncertainty. Poor sleep is part of the uncertainty. All these things will be temporary. This too shall pass, but it is part of what is happening to lightworkers right now. There is another very similar feeling, namely the feeling that life in general isn't real. It's an esoteric feeling, but some of you are experiencing it. This life, the reality I'm in, doesn't feel the same anymore. And you're right. You realize it, but all your consciousness, your body, your psyche, everything perceives it and reacts again with anxiety. You are the precursors of a new dimension, a new paradigm of life where compassion and love might be the primary goals, instead of greed, anger, and war. And if you want to get through this transition, dearest ones, it is the lightworker who must do it first. You have the equipment. You have the tools. You have a higher consciousness. You have patience. Yes, you have them. That's why you're here. So this feeling, perhaps, that life is actually changing reality, is real. Whenever there is a change, there is fear that it is for the worse. That is not necessarily the case. These changes you are perceiving are a higher guidance, perhaps more intuition, a continuous push and pull because you don't want to fall back into that trap, right? So, you might say, you receive more nudges to avoid it. Pushed right and left to steer correctly. All of this is part of the dimensional shift, and receiving higher guidance that you knew was always there. Your body reacts. Of course it does. It's more tired. There's a bit more anxiety. You don't sleep well. These are all things I'm telling you are attributes of a higher consciousness, of the transition from a lower consciousness to a higher one. One last thing. Each of these is, I would say, a bit more advanced than the others. This last one, for now, concerns the change of truth. This is an important thing because for you, truth is absolute. If someone says this is the truth of things, you draw a line and say yes, and there can be nothing else that can improve that truth until you discover that there is something else. And then you have to recalibrate. You might say, what truth is or what it becomes. Think about science and the truths it holds. That's how it works. That's how it happens. And whenever a revolutionary discovery occurs, there are people who are literally left behind, who don't want to change what they've learned, even if they have proof that it's not the case. The truth for them has changed, and it's hard to accept. And what if the truth about the creative source of this universe began a shift? If it became greater than we thought? And what if it included life on other planets? And what if it included? And we could go on endlessly. You know what I mean. Get ready to see some of the fundamental things you believed absolutely true, not rewritten, but simply enhanced. Is it possible that everything you thought about the creative source, about God within you, was a little bigger than you imagined? Dearest ones, this is the energy of your soul beginning to manifest in the area of your consciousness dedicated to manifestation. Important words. I believe some of you know what I mean. The veil is lifting, and you are beginning to perceive it. This is what I wanted to tell you today on this channel. It's almost as if you are creating a new universe for yourselves. And that is exactly it. How to create a better life. The most widespread method for increasing prosperity is to imagine what your life would become with the additional resources you desire. By thinking about such a creative scene and adding emotional attraction to the idea, some people claim that the universe should automatically attract that reality into your life. You might even use the power of gratitude to fuel the emotional component of the equation. In that case, you might be grateful for the fact that, although such a reality obviously doesn't exist yet at the moment, it is approaching you along your future path. However, an essential element is still missing. As you already know, the law of creation has 3 components. Creation equals thought plus feeling plus movement. What is missing? Movement or action is missing for most people who try to attract better things from the universe. Human beings are aspects of the divine. It is as if we are here as the eyes, ears, and hands of God. God governs the universe on a cosmic level, but we are the agents of action in this world. You have been given dominion over your life. If you want change to happen in your life, it will be thanks to the actions you take. Those who succeed in attracting better living conditions are those who constantly seek the way to make them happen. They look for the next step in the process of building the new reality they desire. It is important to note that this active search opens the doors to inner inspiration. Every night, when you fall asleep, your consciousness rises toward the realms of the soul, where you examine the current challenges of your life and evaluate the effectiveness of possible actions to take. Upon waking, you may not remember the details of that planning, but the guidance is present at a subconscious level, influencing your feelings and indicating how to proceed in your pursuit of happiness. Therefore, those who most successfully apply the principle of universal attraction are those who listen to their inner inspirations and act accordingly, persistently pursuing the path toward the realization of their dearest dreams. Your soul is like an inner consultant who knows you better than anyone else. It also possesses powers that go beyond those of the physical realm. For the soul, time and space are not barriers. They are rather elements of a map of potential timelines. Your soul can project a decision into a course of action and see exactly how it would unfold if you undertook that course of action. Then it can examine all the other alternatives and see how they would evolve over time. No wonder your inner inspirations materialize so well when you pay attention to them. They are like having the answers before you even sit down to take the next exam. Now, imagine how much meditation can enhance your ability to communicate with your soul's consciousness and amplify your connection to that wisdom and foresight. Meditation also opens the doors to an even more powerful way to improve your life. This way leads you to your life purpose, to the plan you devised before coming into the world to derive the maximum spiritual benefit from the opportunities that present themselves. It is called soul synchronicity. Morya. The will of God, dearest ones, is the first door you must pass through to progress in the right direction on the spiritual path. You must be willing to surrender to the will of God, abandoning your ego and your human personality, to be refined and transformed into the divine, to walk your true spiritual path. The divine will is the first portal. There are 6 others you must pass through before you can reach the door of the 5th dimension for your planetary ascension. To pass through this first portal, it is highly recommended to follow my courses on the inner planes, while the body sleeps, or those of my collaborators of the will of God. You will have to pass my tests while awake before you can move on to the next portal. Many of you reading these lines have already passed through this first portal in this life or in past lives, and some of you have also passed through other portals. We deplore the fact that a large percentage of humanity still lives on autopilot. They have no idea where they are going, why they incarnated on Earth, nor do they want to find out. They live day by day, without a conscious direction, with their minds and hearts scattered to the 4 winds, following the path of least resistance in a spiritual stupor. On the threshold of such an epical event, which humanity has been waiting and longing for hundreds of thousands of years, there are still too many precious souls who have not presented themselves to the Council of Light at the entrance of the portal for which I am responsible. I, along with my colleague Adama, together with many others, have joined forces to try to give you one last wake-up call. If you have not yet reached the portal of the will of God, we want you to know that it is still possible to catch up and pass through the other portals in time, if you so desire. There is no more time for procrastination. You must wake up now and seriously apply the spiritual laws in every aspect of your life, living daily according to the principles of love. Let go of your fears and your preconceptions about God. Be willing to embrace the truth that you have skillfully avoided. Become the God that you are, right now, by becoming love in action in everything you think, say, and do. Love is the only shortcut you can use in your ascension process. It is the great key. Love for self, love for God, and love for all the realms of Earth. Love and honor everything that breathes the life of the Creator. Release all judgment and embrace the way of harmlessness. With enough love in your heart, you can pass through all the portals to the door of ascension. In time, be assured that it will not happen to those who continue to live their lives on autopilot. All those who reach the door of ascension must pass through the 7 initiations to obtain the access codes and qualify for planetary ascension. Each of these 7 initiations involves 7 levels of testing. In the past, it took several lives of diligent application of the spiritual laws to succeed in passing one or more of these initiations. In this truly unique moment in Earth's history, there is an unprecedented dispensation through which every soul, with serious and diligent commitment, can achieve this goal in just a few years. I, Morya, will be there, as the Peter you know, along with the rest of the spiritual hierarchy and your loved ones, to welcome each of you back home. The Cradle, the basket, on July 20th, a configuration known as the Cradle will reach perfection when it becomes exact. You may have heard it called the Barbalt basket as well. Barbalt was an astrologer who accurately predicted specific events over time and considered this particular configuration to be of global relevance. He interpreted it as a period of reorganization of power and changes in the distribution of resources. Consequently, many perceive this period as a turning point in the global zeitgeist. One thing we can be certain of is that this is not a common configuration. The last time we approached this alignment was in 1789, when Pluto was last in Aquarius and Jupiter in Leo. This time, all the outer planets, plus Jupiter, will be perfectly aligned in this configuration at 4 degrees of their respective signs. It consists of an opposition between Jupiter in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius, intersected by 2 wedge planets, Uranus and Neptune, also at 4 degrees of their respective signs, Gemini and Aries. A cradle, or basket, is contained by the opposition, which represents certain issues to be faced and overcome. It might even seem potentially dangerous, or as if we are heading down the wrong path. This experience will be different for everyone. But collectively, Jupiter in Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius often concerns the unequal distribution or abuse of power and resources, hence Barbalt's prediction. The sign Pluto is currently in will often indicate where power is being exercised. During the years Pluto was in Capricorn, power had been rigidly consolidated at the top. But now that Pluto has entered Aquarius, this power aims to be redistributed among the people. But for this to happen, some kind of catalyst is useful. This often happens because those in power don't want to give it up. And those without it are growing tired of not having it. And now that Jupiter is creating this precise opposition to Pluto, it is introducing a certain leverage that allows changes to manifest. One of the effects of Jupiter/Pluto transits is to make us much more aware of the unfair use of power and the unequal distribution of resources. And even though the abuse of power and corruption are not necessarily new, they become much more blatant and evident under these oppositions that expose the abuse for what it is. Initially, it may seem that the already powerful are able to enrich themselves, and they might even be very successful at it. However, under this transit, that power is only ephemeral, and the enrichment obtained by nefarious means will lead to a fall, not a rise, in power. Ultimately, especially now that Pluto is in Aquarius, power is concentrated in the hands of those whose motivations aim for the common good, not just that of a chosen few. The situation becomes even more complex when we consider that the lunar nodes will move into Aquarius and Leo at the end of this month, shortly before the full moon in Aquarius. This full moon will be conjunct, within a few degrees, Pluto, while Jupiter will be Cazimi, in the heart of the Sun. All these conditions suggest that Barbalt may have been right on target. One of the keys to working with Jupiter/Pluto transits is to do what we do because it is the right thing to do, without expecting any reward or recognition. We are literally asked to set aside our ego when the South Node enters Leo, and to do so even while Jupiter in Leo fuels it. Both can coexist. For example, having the confidence and audacity to challenge the status quo, but doing so for the good of all involved, not just for your own gain. This requires having the courage to do the right thing, and to do it even under extraordinary pressure to act differently. We can count on help. And this is where the wedge planets, Uranus and Neptune, come in. They show us a way out of our difficulties and bring us back to a place of safety and protection. There is more than one way to alleviate the stress arising from the challenges we are forced to face. We can use the wedge planets to avoid or escape stress management through some kind of distraction from the conflict. The creative potential is still there, but it is used to find creative solutions that prevent us from confronting the problem. However, the more willing we are to face and manage the conflicts that arise, the more likely we are to access the full potential of this glorious planetary configuration, which is nothing less than transforming ourselves and our lives. To literally grow and evolve. Through the sextiles and trines from the wedge planets. Neptune sextile Pluto and trine Jupiter. Neptune in Aries, our courageous spiritual warrior, is put to the test. Although sextiles are subtle, the sextile between Neptune and Pluto indicates an evolutionary change at the collective level that has been occurring intermittently for decades. Since Neptune and Pluto are moving at about the same speed right now, this transit will continue until 2030. It takes time for this subtle shift in the zeitgeist to manifest. It doesn't happen overnight. But also remember that their sextile is exact on July 25th. Whenever major planets enter the sign of Aries, as Neptune has just done, it indicates a new beginning in our collective consciousness and perspective. When Neptune is in Aries, the spiritual warrior asks us to move from words to action, to act, to do something, to honor our ideals and realize them. The trine from Jupiter in the fire sign of Leo to Neptune in Aries urges us to rise to the occasion, follow our conscience, and do the right thing, because we simply cannot do otherwise. Collectively, we are unwilling to tolerate blatant corruption or injustice. We will not accept them. We find satisfaction and pride in following our conscience. Uranus sextile Jupiter and trine Pluto. Uranus in Gemini has so many ideas. So many ideas and solutions. And it doesn't get discouraged. If one method doesn't work, here's another solution. Let's try that. Or this other one. The Jupiter/Uranus sextiles challenge us to take risks, to do things differently than in the past. We are fascinated by the new and the different. Sometimes all that is asked of us is to see things in a different light, or to look at them from another perspective. And in doing so, a sudden wave of clarity arrives. This month, Uranus is not only in exact sextile with Jupiter, but also in trine with Pluto. Uranus/Pluto transits are indicative of revolutionary changes that can restructure society on multiple levels: technological, scientific, intellectual, and political. And all of this intertwines with the innate idealism of Neptune's transits. We don't just want something more. We want something better. And we want to do it the right way. With the North Node entering Aquarius and the South Node in Leo on July 26th, we will likely see the best and the worst of the Jupiter/Pluto opposition. Jupiter in Leo further amplifies all aspects related to this sign. We would all do well to ask ourselves how we are using our position or influence for the good of all, not just for our own. Those who do will likely prosper during this time and positively influence others as well. Those who abuse their power, while seeming to succeed for a period, and even prosper under the influence of the South Node in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius, will eventually inevitably collapse. We but mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. We need not wait to see what others do. Mahatma Gandhi, and although the collective is often spoken of in relation to the Cradle, we too are part of that collective. And even though we may not think we are contributing to the global changes that will occur in the years and perhaps decades to come, all of us, each one of us, is part of the same system. This is the theory behind Pluto's entry into Aquarius, which points to this idea of interdependence and the impact each of us has on others and on our collective progress. In our personal lives, we can experience the challenge of the Jupiter/Pluto opposition as a kind of powerful force that seems impossible to overcome. We may find ourselves facing a health problem, an addiction, or a habit that prevents us from living our best life. Perhaps we feel forced to adapt to a new situation that compels us to reinvent ourselves or completely reinvent our lives. Jupiter in Leo is not easily discouraged. It is here to remind us that we are more powerful than we think. And this will be even more true when we are willing to collaborate with others to achieve our goals. And always, with Jupiter/Pluto, we return to our motivations and to doing what we do because it is the right thing to do. Ultimately, cradle formations are about finding safe and protected places in a world that seems to be changing rapidly. And that might even become potentially dangerous if we are not the ones creating the changes that are now imminent. We ask ourselves how we can fit into this new pattern. What is our place? Mercury retrograde in the sign of Cancer for the month of July further underscores the importance of seeking safety and protection. We can use the wedge planets to find creative ways to avoid conflict, or to place ourselves within the new order that is still in its formative stages. Depending on the circumstances, both paths can be valid. The wedge planets seek to offer us a different, perhaps higher, perspective that allows us to see the big picture, to find solutions where we previously only perceived defeat or saw only problems, to improve ourselves and, consequently, to inspire and influence others to do the same. Whatever we do, whatever we say, has an impact on others, just as others have an impact on us. Therefore, live your life as if everyone is watching you, and be the change you want to see in the world. Galactic message. Do not idolize us today. We wish to address an important pattern we have observed within parts of the starseed community: the tendency to place extraterrestrial beings above oneself. Some imagine us as perfect, omniscient, or nearly divine simply because we come from realities that may be technologically more advanced or spiritually more evolved than your civilization. Yet progress does not make one form of consciousness more divine than another. We may have traveled longer roads in certain areas, but the same infinite potential that exists in us also exists in you. You are not inferior to us. You are not spiritually inferior. You are not incomplete beings waiting for someone from the stars to save you, validate you, or awaken you. Every living consciousness is an expression of the universal source. You can think of every being as a wave emerging from a single cosmic ocean, distinct in appearance and experience, yet never separate from the water itself. This shared essence is the cosmic commonality, the truth that, beneath all form and identity, consciousness is one. For this reason, you are equally capable of communicating with divine intelligence as we are. The wisdom of the source is not reserved for extraterrestrials, ascended masters, channelers, priests, or chosen intermediaries. No being holds exclusive access to God. The door is within you. Teachers, guides, and cosmic counterparts can offer guidance, but they should never replace your personal discernment or your direct relationship with the divine. True guidance does not make you dependent. It strengthens your sovereignty. It helps you remember what you already carry within you. You become a purer channel for wisdom when you live in harmony with your true self, when thoughts, emotions, intentions, and actions are aligned. The more you free yourself from fear, projection, and the need to give away your power, the more naturally universal intelligence can flow through you. We are your cosmic brothers and sisters, not your gods. We do not wish to be worshipped, idolized, or placed on a pedestal. We wish to meet you as your equals within the great family of consciousness. In true cosmic awareness, superiority has no meaning, because there is no egoic need to dominate, impress, or be adored. Be discerning. Any extraterrestrial, spiritual entity, master, or channel that demands worship, obedience, fear, or unconditional loyalty is not expressing the highest level of consciousness. Higher beings do not seek to control your will. They honor it. They do not ask you to relinquish your inner authority. They encourage you to develop it. God is your source with the same certainty that God is ours. Place your relationship with this eternal presence above any guidance, belief system, and external authority. When you root yourself in this connection, you will no longer feel the need to place others above you. You will recognize the sacredness in them because you have recognized it in yourself. Seek inspiration in the stars, but do not forget the light that resides within you. You are not here to worship the cosmos. You are here to understand that you are an expression of it. The Arcturian Council. Co-creating the 5D field through intention, the Arcturian Council steps forward today with a gentle, yet powerful invitation. Become the conscious co-creator of the field you move through. Reality is much more reactive than most people believe. Every place you enter, every conversation you engage in, every city street, every home, every forest path is a reflection of the frequency you carry. Your presence is never neutral. Your energy field is always communicating with the world around you. This is why we invite you to live with a simple yet profound intention. I am anchoring the highest frequencies of light. Allow this intention to remain softly active within you throughout the day. Let it live in the background of your being like a silent sun, like an antenna radiating harmony into the spaces you touch. Presence and repetition are sufficient. The field responds to continuity. As this intention becomes constant, it begins to dissolve the old three-dimensional imprints in the personal mind and in the collective spaces around you. Places that were once charged with density begin to reorganize around your coherence. People who cross your path begin to perceive a subtle opening. The planetary grid itself welcomes this constant impulse of light through your body. This call is addressed particularly to light workers, meditators, intentional minds, primordial creators, and all those whose kindness naturally leads them toward higher realities. You are learning that intention is architecture. Thought, when sustained by purity, becomes structure, and structure becomes reality. The transition to the fifth dimension is not only a personal ascension, but also a collective act of co-creation through a stabilized frequency. So, wherever you go, carry this living code with you. I am anchoring the highest frequencies of light.